Hello friends. Today we're going to be walking through the process on how to properly steam milk. That's pretty much it, so let's get into it. When you steam milk, you have two primary goals. One is to add heat, and the other is to add texture. Adding heat's pretty straightforward. As soon as you turn the steam wand on, you're going to be blasting hot air into the pitcher, which is going to heat up your milk. Adding texture, however, requires a bit more skill and a little bit more fine tuning, so that's where we're going to primarily focus today. Let's first discuss the actual steps you go through when you're steaming your milk. There are three stages in the actual process of steaming milk. There's air, spin, and heat. In the air stage, you're incorporating air into the pitcher with the steam wand and adding those little micro bubbles which causes the actual foam in the milk. In the spin stage, you are incorporating the aerated milk with the liquid milk, which gets that even consistency and texture throughout the entire milk and gives you the desired texture. And then obviously with the heating stage, you are adding heat to the milk, which caramelizes the sugars and gives you a nice sweet taste to match that foamy, marshmallowy texture. And bear in mind, when I say that spin and heat are their own separate stages, they're kind of all happening at the same time. As you add air, you're also spinning and adding heat, but I make them their own stages to emphasize that they should kind of be carried out in that process. You want to add air at the beginning, spin to incorporate that aerated milk with the liquid milk, and then heat it as you're doing so. So it's all kind of one stage, but they happen sort of at separate times. All right, next we're going to discuss the position of the steam wand and the actual pitcher while you're steaming. When you initially put that steam wand in the pitcher, you want to use the spout of the pitcher as a guide to sort of cradle that steam wand and help stabilize it. You're going to insert the steam wand just off center to the pitcher, but not touching the sides. And you just want to submerge it to the point where the head of the steam wand is fully submerged, but that's about it. It helps a lot if you rest your hand on the drip tray as you do this, because it helps you stabilize it and move the pitcher up and down throughout the steaming process. And at this point, you're actually ready to start steaming. So you're gonna crank the steam wand all the way on to make sure it's fully open. And then as you do so, that steam's gonna blast the milk and it's gonna start spiraling. Then when it's spiraling rapidly, you wanna ever so slightly either tilt the pitcher backwards or slightly lower it, just enough to expose one or two of the holes in the bottom of the steam wand that are actually blasting the steam in. This will cause little spurts of air to be added, and that's what's actually texturing your milk and adding those micro bubbles. And this is that air step of the three-step process. It should be added, like I said, in those little spurts, so it's gonna sound like psst, 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 psst. You don't want that big. If you're doing that, that means you've lowered it a bit too much and it's gonna add too many bubbles at once. So just bring that pitcher back up, keep it spiraling. Once you're satisfied with the amount of air that you've added into the milk, you're gonna slowly raise that pitcher back up, keeping it in that same position off to the side and causing it to spiral, and that's gonna mix together that aerated milk with that liquid milk, creating your desired texture. This is that spin part of the process. That's incorporating the air, the aerated milk with the liquid milk. Then at this point, you're simply heating your milk. So you're gonna use either the palm of your hand or a thermometer to detect when you're at the right temp, and you're gonna crank the steam wand off. And that's the size of it. That's steaming milk. So if you did every step correctly, your milk should look like a nice glossy paint on the top. Now, when adding air to the milk, you might be asking, when do I know how much air is enough? Well, when you're adding the actual air into the milk, you're actually increasing its volume because you're incorporating these little micro air bubbles, which is kind of causing it to expand. We call it stretching the milk. So your guideline for how much you want to actually stretch the milk is about 25 to 35% of its original volume. Now, it's a bit difficult to determine when you've actually stretched it by 25%, but that comes with time and practice, so don't get too worried about it. And again, you can also tell if you did a good job if it looks like a wet paint on the top. If it's too bubbly or too dry, then you added too much air, or if it's too liquidy and kind of like original milk, then you didn't add enough air. So it all comes to practice, so don't get too worried about it. And that's about it, guys. That's steaming milk, so good luck. Get out there, get some practice in, pour some art, and have fun. Thanks for watching.